putting buttercream on a piece of parchment, which is on the acrylic discs, so that the cake base will stick, so the cardboard will stick, and making sure that the cake is centered as best as I can. You'll notice that I did not crumb coat this cake, so you can actually see the unevenness of the sides. And to me, what's so amazing about the discs is that you're not going to have any idea that it looked like this. I am just trimming the parchment right now so that it's within the edge of the top acrylic disc, so that it doesn't get in the way of smoothing. When you're creating the top, you want to put a ton of buttercream up there because you're going to use that thickness to level the cake. So when you're pushing down with the level on the acrylic disc, which I'll put on in a minute, you're going to see that some of the buttercream kind of squishes out. So you want plenty on there so you have enough of a layer when you're done leveling the cake. The disc had parchment which was attached to the disc with buttercream. And now I am making sure that the sides are even, and I'm going to slide the disc slightly, if you can see that, so that the sides are perfectly vertical. And you just go around and check that. You may notice that the non-slip pad on the bottom, underneath the bottom disc, is sticking out a little bit. At some point, which I don't think I show on here, I trim that off because I need a level surface to smooth the sides. So here you can see I'm leveling it, pressing down, buttercream is squishing out, and now I'm going to be attaching, making certain that the top disc is attached, and putting the buttercream on the sides, and you just layer it in thick and press and make sure there's no holes or bubbles or air. And this is the first time I'm going to go around with that. Now you see there's a bare spot. I'm going to slide the disc over, okay, so that now I can cover that when I fill it in with buttercream. So as you can see, it's very forgiving. You know, you do your first scrape around. If there's holes or there's pockets or there's bare spots, you can fix that by filling it in. Needless to say, this is speeded up. And you see a little bare spot just came around. So when I get all the way around, I'm going to fill that and any other spots. I'm talking to somebody who's in the room with me. Okay, and this, I think, is the final smoothing. Yep. So up until now, everything is the way most people do it, either upside down or right side up. It doesn't really matter which way you do, whatever you prefer. I prefer to not have to flip like a 14-inch tier over. So I prefer to do it this way, plus it allows me the option to do what you're going to see next. I'm going to scrape the extra off the top. Okay, so here's where I'm going to lift the top acrylic disc off, which is, as I mentioned before, the top of the cake. I'm using I warmed it with water, thin palette knife. Those work the best. They're flexible and they're very, very thin. And I'm sliding it all the way around, and then I lift the disc off. And now I'm going to peel the parchment off, and you just peel it back against itself. And here's my favorite part, which is smoothing the top. There will be some very slight imperfections in that top edge. Personally, you know, if I want it to look like a dummy cake, then it doesn't look handmade, it doesn't look real. It's just my personal preference. If there's a couple of imperfections, I'm really okay with that. They're very minor. And I find people still ask me, is that a real cake or is that a dummy? So it comes out, I guess, perfect enough that people feel it's almost absolutely perfect. And so when I filled in those little holes and now I'm smoothing the top, you come out with a perfectly smooth top with no signs of having used the discs, no edge. The last step is to take the finish tier off the acrylic disc, and I'm doing that with a razor blade knife and just sliding it off gently